Hello beautiful people and welcome to another video. This one is full of surprises and it's a bit of a weird one. As you can see, someone covered this with wallpaper and they used a lot of glue. Typically when I remove wallpaper it's pretty straightforward. I just use my steamer and it comes off easily. But this one, it was holding on for its dear life. There's some sort of painting underneath.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
I did not see this one coming. This artwork isn't original and I can see that because first of all it just isn't great, and also someone painted it on top of the varnish because this isn't sealed, so it isn't part of the original finish, if you know what I mean. And this is a tough one because I don't know how old this is and I don't know how long this has been a piece of this chest of drawers, but I think this needs to go because it isn't a great piece of art in my opinion. So I actually just messaged the person that I bought this from and asked about the painting, and I'm just waiting for her to reply. I just want to double check. This is a very nice inlay. I can't believe that someone covered this with this wallpaper. It is a vintage wallpaper though, I give them that. There are some pretty nasty repairs. I don't know if there was like a back piece or maybe a mirror or something attached to it. I was just looking for this to confirm my idea, and it looks like there was some sort of back piece or maybe a mirror attached and someone just plugged these holes. I'll see what I want to do about this. This is all solid wood, it's not plywood, so judging by the dovetails and the look of it, I'm guessing this is pretty old. All of these will need to be fixed though. Looks like there are actually screws underneath that hold this down. So I need to get rid of this. Yeah, this was just like a plug. That's a weird way of attaching the top, and I don't know if this is original, but someone could have done exactly the same thing as it's done in the front, and you wouldn't be able to see the screws. So this is actually made from two layers. This is the top one, and this is the frame underneath, and this is screwed into this layer that's cracked in half. So I need to unscrew it before I glue it together because there's no other way I can do it. It looks like this has been re-glued multiple times and many screws have been added throughout the years. This wasn't terribly complicated, but there were multiple pieces, and because I was taking everything apart, I decided to label every piece so I would know where to put it back. So this one is actually glued on, and I'm gonna leave it because it will give me a reference point for the other pieces, and it isn't in the way of gluing this panel together, so I'll leave it. Before I glue the panel together, I need to address this crack. I actually tried to use my vacuum and suck the glue through the crack from underneath, but it didn't really work, so I just moved it apart and pushed the glue in with my finger. Check this out, no plywood here. Look how thick this is. This is a solid piece of wood. Even on the back, just as thick as the side one. And all of this is not plywood, this is just a thin board made of solid wood. Nice dovetail joinery. Someone put a lot of effort into making this. But as it turns out, there was a bit of cheating, as I realized later on when it comes to the inlay. Because I was re-gluing these two panels and the edges were a bit worn out, I decided to use a planer and gave them fresh edges. It might seem like I'm removing a lot of material, but this shaving is very thin. Once I was happy with those two edges, I applied some glue and clamped both halves together and let them dry. In the meantime, the lady that I bought this chest of drawers from replied, and she said that this artwork was actually added on and it was fairly recent, so I knew I would have to remove it. Just to be on the safe side, I left it to dry overnight, and the next day I came back and sanded the top and removed the painting. I know that not everyone is going to be happy about the fact I'm removing this painting, but the fact is that it wasn't great, and if I felt like it was adding anything to the overall aesthetics, I would have kept it. The annoying thing is that the painting left a mark that was very difficult to get rid of. And now I'm just adding a little bit of glue into tiny cracks that don't need proper regluing. I just want to close them, so I'm using my sander without the vacuum hose attached. Two pieces missing, one on this side and one on the other, and I think I found the perfect match for the missing veneer, because this actually gives me all the shades I might possibly want. At this point, I actually thought that this was inlaid into the top, but as it turns out, there was a large piece of veneer in the middle with this border around it, and it was exactly the same case with the drawers, which, as you will see, made everything way more complicated. This was actually very difficult to do because it's not just one piece of veneer that I'm replacing, there are actually 5. There are 2 light ones and 2 dark ones, and there is like a rectangular one in the middle. There are quite a few dark spots, and obviously there is a large bleached area from the painting. I'll use oxalic acid and see where this gets me. The lines are a bit wonky, but I don't really care. Looks better than it did before, and it's definitely not easy to fix something like this. Probably would be easier to replace the whole thing and just do one long piece rather than try and match this tiny little piece of wood. I think I would rather this to be painted. It would be much easier to get rid of the paint than this wallpaper. The scraping took me almost 3 days, and I'm not even exaggerating. It was a lot of work, but Mando wasn't impressed. But he was impressed with the new browser that I found. The new and redesigned Opera browser has all the features I want and none of the features I don't need, and the new and minimalistic interface is super easy to use. One of my favorite features is the floating music player. You can move it anywhere you want within the browser or even outside the browser and put it somewhere on the desktop. And you can use Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, or whatever. Using the split screen feature couldn't be easier. You simply click on the tab you want to add and drag it down. And that's it. Another cool feature is the themes, and this is my favorite. You can customize it just the way you like it, including the sounds of your keyboard, your browser, the colors, intensity, shades, and more. Another very useful feature is Area AI, which you can activate from the side menu or by simply using the command that you can see on the screen. And if for whatever reason you want to see an Art Deco cat, the image generation feature can do that for you. If you're one of those people with lots of open tabs, tab traces makes it very easy to find them by highlighting the recently visited ones. I genuinely enjoy using this browser and I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. Now back to work. Some of the drawer stoppers needed reattaching, so I used a little bit of glue and a nail and Bob's your uncle. I think this might be one of the least enjoyable things I've ever done. This one side, I think, took me an hour and a half. This is absolutely the worst. I was definitely thinking about just picking up a different project and starting over. I'm definitely not cursing in my head the person who put the wallpaper on this. When I was finally done with taking the wallpaper off, I sanded the top and it was looking pretty good. I also sanded all the pieces that the frame was made from and got them ready for reattaching them to the top. And because I marked them before I took them off, it was very easy to put them back in the right place. The holes from the old screws, they were not gonna work because they were very loose and just worn out, so I made new ones, I used new screws, and I glued all those pieces down to make sure this would actually hold its shape. Considering the seasonal wood movement, I'm not convinced this is the best way to go, but that's how it was made, so that's how I did it. As always, just wanted to say a quick thank you to everyone for watching my videos, commenting and liking, that means a lot, and a special shout out to all the channel members, you guys are the best. If you'd like to help support what I do, you can give me a super thanks or check out the links in the description of this video. Thank you! The next project I'm working on is just something fun and a challenge that I'm doing with a friend of mine, something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I think something to kind of help me relax and do something fun before I tackle the next project, which will be just impossible. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you might have seen pictures of a desk I picked up recently that's in hundreds of pieces. I got the desk from one of you guys. I drove 3 hours one way to pick it up, and it was in an old greenhouse, completely falling apart. It's a wartime desk, very cool one, but I don't even know what it's supposed to look like because it's in so many pieces. Anyhow, I eventually put the top back together and I was able to start working on the drawers. All these drawers need to be fixed because the bottom isn't attached very well. These drawers are a real pain. They're all broken in so many ways. The drawback of having the bottom made of solid wood is that it cracks a lot. So it looks like this is a bit worn out, so I think I'm just gonna cut this off and replace it with two dominoes, which are pretty much the same size, and they actually fit in here. And that will just give me much more support. This actually worked very well and solved the problem. When I was done with that, I had to fix the bottom of the drawer because it was cracked, and as you can see there was this piece that was completely broken off, so I glued it back in place. And to keep it simple, I used some scotch tape instead of clamps because this was a bit tricky to clamp it together, and this did the trick. I'm gonna let these dry and now I'll take care of the other drawer. So looks like this one is fine and it was well attached, so I just need to fix this piece. I did pretty much the same thing. I used some scotch tape, applied some glue, and I taped those two pieces together. And when I was done with that, guess what? I needed to do some sanding. And when I was finally done sanding, I realized that it was not going to be smooth sailing. So someone used grain filler just to make the surface smooth, which is okay, and I can actually sand it out from the solid pieces of wood, but this is actually veneer, and it's veneered over a board made from pine. So this is solid wood, but it's not this wood underneath, if you know what I mean. And I can't sand it out because I'll just burn through the veneer. So would you look at that? I actually managed to sand it out, all the grain filler, or most of it, so I'll just do a bit more. Pretty happy with that. I'm not gonna be very happy when I get to the drawers though. This is a bit tricky because this inlay is missing only partially, so I would need to actually remove some of it in order to replace it. So I'm going to try and use this repair wax to basically fill in all the little pieces that are missing and see if this works. I'm not sure if this was wood or bone, but it was very thin and pretty tricky to work with. I'm also about to realize that what I thought about the drawers was not the case, and the inlay on the drawer faces, it just wasn't what I thought it was. Basically, the drawer faces or fronts were made from solid mahogany, but someone actually glued a piece of mahogany veneer on top of it and surrounded it with that border made from different type of wood, which completely changed my plan and made it incredibly difficult to repair it. And that is because it was just sitting on top of the drawer fronts and it was chipped in so many places that fixing it would take weeks. There's a bit of a problem because there are so many tiny pieces of this edge missing, and in many of those places the substrate is missing as well. So in order to rebuild this whole thing, it's almost impossible. And it's just not worth the amount of work that I would need to put into this. Not only this inlay that's very thin, but this is not solid wood. This is a veneer over whatever wood is underneath. I think it's mahogany. I've just sanded it off because I wouldn't be able to finish this year if I wanted to replace all those bits of veneer. It's all a bit disappointing. Now I just need to come up with plan B. And if this had sentimental value, or if it was actually an expensive antique, maybe I would have tried, but not in this case. And trust me when I say that the amount of work I would have had to put into this project just wasn't worth it. Maybe it doesn't come across on camera, but it was a lot. This is where it was glued together. Even though the veneer was thin, it was still a lot of sanding, so to make it a bit quicker, I used my Rotex. And even though I removed the veneer from the drawers, I kept the inlay on the top of this chest of drawers, and actually the wood underneath was mahogany, so it was okay. I guess I shouldn't be calling this an inlay because this is more like marquetry because it's glued on top of the surface, not inlaid. And I guess if I want to be technically correct, the only inlay on this piece is what's on the legs. So when it comes to those screws, I thought about it and realized that if anyone wants to take this apart, they will need access to those screws, so I didn't want to make it difficult and decided to use repair wax to plug those holes. And if I were to be completely honest with you, I was a bit over this project. It just wasn't what I expected and I wasn't very happy with all those surprises, and I just wanted to get it done. Which doesn't mean I didn't want to make it look nice, I just had to change my plans and kind of go in a different direction. So to finish this piece, I'm using hard wax oil from Osmo and I'm adding a little bit of brown tinter. That bleach spot on the top isn't completely gone, so I'm just hoping that this tinter will help me hide it a little bit, but we'll see. It helped a little bit, but I wasn't quite happy with how it was looking, so I used a bit of lacquer toner off camera and some, I think it's antique mahogany or something like that, wax, and that actually made a big difference. And because I removed that marquetry from the drawers, I wanted to make it a bit more fancy, so I added those brass wheels and also nice brass handles to the drawers. To refresh the drawers, I covered them with hard wax oil, and as you can see, it actually made a huge difference. And I'm not going to plug the holes in the drawer fronts because I've got a plan to use handles that will actually cover them. Even though this project didn't quite go according to plan, I'm quite happy with the result and I think it looks pretty nice and classy. There's some holes from woodworm damage, but I will fill them in with repair wax when everything is dry. And I did treat them with woodworm treatment off camera because I'm a professional. Thanks for watching the video, enjoy the final results and see you in the next one.